Evan Knappen,
And I'm Teddy Knappen.
and welcome to Gun Lawyer. Well, my friends, the wins keep coming. These are great times. And, we have suffered from the oppressors on our gun rights for decades upon decades. And now we are seeing the collapse of all their machinations over the years. And it is great and getting greater. And so, just within this short period of time, we've had the spectacular win in New Jersey in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals and the full en banc panel, all the judges, of course, finding that New Jersey's 36-year-old assault firearm law and magazine law is unconstitutional. It's a fantastic decision, as we've discussed, written by a Biden appointee judge who happened to be the first woman of color appointed to the appellate bench. That is fantastic and has multi-dimensional impact, of course, having that great decision. Now, that having been said, yes, a stay has been granted in terms of the implementation of the finding of unconstitutionality. So that stay is granted essentially because traditionally these kind of stays do get granted, especially when the Supreme Court itself of the United States has taken this issue and is granted certiorari over the assault weapon, what New Jersey calls assault firearm law under Viramontes and Grant, and they'll be deciding that. Essentially, we'll have a decision by next June on that issue affecting the nation. Now, New Jersey is got their stay because they're requesting the Supreme Court of the United States to grant certiorari over New Jersey's case, and the stay has been granted pending the final resolution, essentially, of these issues, or at least in good part, these issues by the United States Supreme Court. So
What's
in the
funny to me,
meantime,
I will say I don't know if you caught what the AG Davenport wrote in their press release, did.
well, they can continue to irreparably harm law-abiding, honest gun owners over these unconstitutional laws until that finally happens. But what exactly did Davenport say as they try to turn an utter defeat into some sort of short-term victory?
We are thrilled that the Third Circuit this morning stayed its ruling on our assault weapon large capacity magazine case while our petition to the U.S. Supreme Court proceeds. That ensures this 36-year law will remain in place. 36 years of going after people, putting them in jail, taking away their rights, providing
ruining their lives. Hey, wait, Teddy, are you reading from their news release?
Oh, I just, I read their news release and then added the little context that they forgot.
Did they actually use the word assault weapon?
Yes.
Or did they say
They say
Davenport called it assault weapon law?
Yes. Weapon,
okay,
assault
just
weapons,
so you know,
this
is the top law enforcement attorney for Jersey who is calling their law something it is not. We do not have an assault weapon law. We have an assault firearm law. Now, granted, it's a similar issue, and it's the same idea of going after New Jersey's version of semi-automatics. But you would think if you're a lawyer and you're a lawyer for the state that has this case that you might want to refer to it as the actual name that your state utilizes, because that term, assault firearm, is the term embedded in New Jersey's law. It is a defined term under NJS 2C39-1. They are called assault firearms in Jersey by law, by law. But, why would she bother actually using the correct legal term when discussing laws? That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Well, just the abuse alone, just to give you the one-to-one, you've had many a times where people have been charged with having a quote-unquote assault firearm, and it's not. So, but they love to abuse it and just use whatever term they want. That goes right back to Josh Sugarman, his whole idea of making that term the assault firearm to confuse the public so they could pass their laws.
Yep, it's exactly Sugarman wrote the manifesto, assault weapons and their accessories. That's what laid the groundwork for this issue that finally has one foot in the grave, is bedridden on its deathbed, and the Supreme Court will hopefully administer the coup de grace in June, which I believe the odds heavily, heavily favor us, virtually to the point of I would be shocked if we lose, okay? I just don't see that happening, and the antis know it as well. Those oppressors get it,
that they're cases for that
going to lose on this issue.
It's Vermontes and Grant. Those are the two.
Yeah, those are the cases that Supreme Court has granted certiorari on. One is, just so you know, one is a local law out of Cook County, Illinois, that bans assault weapons and has incorporated into the definition magazines into their definition of assault weapon. So the Supreme Court might actually address the magazine issue because it's actually part of Vermonte's law itself. So we may see that. The Grant case deals with Connecticut's assault weapon ban state law, and when they challenged in Connecticut, they didn't challenge the magazine portion. They only challenged the so-called assault weapon portion. Now, New Jersey's case in the Cheeseman-Platkin case, that court addressed both assault firearms, aka assault weapons, and magazines. And now with New Jersey requesting certiorari, meaning requesting the U.S. Supreme Court to take the case, it also opens up the magazine issue so that the Supreme Court, that can do anything it wants, might choose to address the magazine issue in the Vermontes and Grant decision. They might even arguably, they could even take up New Jersey's case and make it part of that. They might, and what most likely, they're going to just have it in a holding pattern. And we have the Duncan case that deals with magazines as well out of California, the Duncan Bonita case. So what it means is if the Supreme Court doesn't deal with magazines by next June, but just the guns, then they may very well take New Jersey's case and Duncan with the split in the circuits there, and then deal with magazines. Or like I said, they might do it all together, they might not, but Jersey proceeding with this actually, weirdly, in the long run, may present and give us a great opportunity because it presents magazines as a complete win by the court from our circuit. So this may be one of those situations where, the word to Jersey is be careful what you wish for. So this is very interesting to follow. But I believe that all these laws are going to go to the dustbin of history. It's just a matter of time. But as I have advised listeners, even when this decision came out, not to do anything because of the ability to get a stay, to wait to see, well, that's proven correct. Okay, it's been proven out to be the wise thing to do, and have our listeners not end up being go-foos by obtaining the firearms and magazines that are not yet technically lawful. So for these continuing months, New Jersey is still free to enforce magazine and assault firearm laws. Of course, if you have such a case or such a charge, your attorney, if they're anywhere competent, will raise these very important issues and hopefully get your criminal matter itself stayed pending the outcome, and preserve the constitutional issues on your behalf in fighting it. So be careful. Don't end up with a GoFu where you're facing these charges and your current counsel isn't doing anything about it. I've had a number of those cases coming to me from even other attorneys where the client is like, my attorney has never raised the constitutionality on these issues. Well, that is a huge mistake, because you need to raise these issues, preserve these issues, because ultimately your odds of success are so great here, and it is essentially, arguably malpractice to not, especially now, raise the constitutional issues if someone is facing in Jersey or in the circuit that has decided that these laws are unconstitutional. So it's very important that you be aware of that.
Would it be better if the Supreme Court does the other two cases and then takes this one up as a mag separately, or is it better to do it all in one go? Just
What the best for everyone would be complete victory as soon as possible. However, if they're not going to do that, if they're just going to address guns now, and then we have these cases to address mags, fine, we'll fight the fight, and there you go. But the important thing, honestly, is that they're taking the cases. Because, remember, for years, they did not take these cases. And instead, luckily, wisely, maybe by planning it correctly, I don't know, maybe intentionally, the groundwork got laid for the challenges to ultimately be successful. Because look, way back in May of 1990, I was an attorney. I remember this horrible Jersey assault firearm law and magazine law passing. It was disgusting. Of course, it also became the Eben Knappen Full Employment Act, but the fact is, they passed this ridiculous law, and I remember thinking at the time, yeah, in my heart, I knew this has got to be contrary to the Second Amendment, but we did not have any of the cases at that time. We didn't have Heller finding that the Second Amendment's an individual right. We didn't have McDonald incorporating the Second Amendment to the states. We didn't have Bruen laying out the test of constitutionality and what test is to be used to see if gun laws are proper and constitutional. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have the giant body of historical research that is critical in these wins. We didn't have any of it, okay? And what the pro-Second Amendment gun rights side has done is nothing short of Herculean, because all the forces together have built this fortress of the ability to defend and to fight and to take on the fight and to attack, built this up so that we're now in a position to have victory after victory. And yet we see another victory, just determined in Fifth Circuit, a nationwide injunction as applied to the members of the parties and their members, such as NRA and GOA and SAF and FPC, etc., all joining, attacking the National Firearm Act under a legal argument that was made possible by President Trump in the Big Beautiful Bill. Remember, the Big Beautiful Bill, which was reconciliation bill that was dealing with money, taxation, funding, money, when it's done as a reconciliation, then what you have is no need or ability to run a filibuster. And since simple majorities can pass the reconciliation bills under the Senate rules, the Democrats, the anti-Second Amendment rights oppressors, could not stop its passage, because they would. They would demand the 60, have the filibuster cloture, and the laws would die on the vine. But this did not, because it only needed simple majority. And in that bill, there was a specific repeal of the taxes that get paid on suppressors, on short barrel shotguns, short barrel rifles, on any other weapon, and silencers. The tax was eliminated to zero. And by doing that, it opened up the ability for the Big Beautiful lawsuit that was just a success in the Fifth Circuit. And how it worked was not based on Second Amendment arguments, but based on jurisdictional arguments. You see, the National Firearms Act is premised upon the federal power of taxation. It is not founded upon the federal power of interstate commerce, nor is it founded upon the military power. The federal government's powers are limited. And back in the 30s, when the National Firearm Act passed, they did not have the insane expansion of the commerce powers under the federal government. And therefore, the first national gun laws, which the NFA was jurisdiction by taxation. And they imposed a $200 tax on suppressors, short barrel rifles, etc. $200 in 1934 was just a little bit under $5,000 in terms of it being adjusted for inflation. So imagine today passing a law that said any semi-automatic firearm that you want to possess, you must pay a $5,000 tax to the federal government in order to obtain it. You see how prohibitive that makes the possession. And then go through a registration scheme that is hidden in a pretext of taxation, which is blatantly excessive. And what has happened is, by the elimination of the tax to zero, the court essentially said, if there's no tax, then there's no law. And therefore, the NFA collapses in the enforcement proceedings regarding the paperwork, registration, printing, all the things that get done on the acquisition of NFA items. That law has been stayed for 7 days, even though this is a permanent injunction. There's been a 7-day stay to see if it progresses further. But that is a tremendous win on yet a different front of fighting for Second Amendment liberty. But we've had both of these great wins, and we have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be optimistic about.
Regarding with the big win with the NFA, I always want to see what are the gun rights oppressionists? What are they pushing on this one? And the Trace didn't bring up something. However, Giffords, they're flipping out, and I love this. They go right to just laugh just reading it. This came from Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Remove the tax on these devices. The court has struck down the national firearm requiring background check and registration of firearm silencers, short barrel rifles, and shotguns. Silencers and short barrel firearms and other than handguns are rarely used in crimes today because current laws have stopped them. Ding, 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 ding. Logical fallacy alert, everybody. Logical fallacy alert. Correlation does not equal causation. Saying that this will stop, that these things have prevented crime does not make it so. What is your argument? Oh, they don't have access, even though prior to that they weren't used in crime generally speaking as well. Number one is handguns on that front. But I love how they just try to toss that in every time, just as a red herring every single time when they try to push it.
Yeah, they're propagandists, and they're losing left and right. And it's going to end up, my friends, you can mark my words, it's going to end up that their entire world of gun law schemes, machinations, all these things that they've hoisted upon us as they die. I am greatly enjoying watching these gun laws die. As they die off and are impossible to find workarounds that as well get killed and die off, that they're simply going to be left with only one mission. And their one mission of the oppressors, the one mission of the Second Amendment rights haters will be to repeal the Second Amendment. And that's where our fight's going to end up. A fight over the oppressors trying to remove the Second Amendment. And of course, they'll push this through their socialist, communist political movement. Remember, they want to make all kinds of institutional, governmental, radical changes, including getting rid of the Senate, including ending the 9-person Supreme Court and expanding it, getting rid of the presidency being elected where it's an appointed, etc., and going at all different constitutional rights and turning America into a communist nation. And in so doing, they will also push, and Teddy, I think they even are saying, even now, to get rid of the Second Amendment. And you'll see them joining hands. You'll see the anti-Second Amendment rights folks joining hands with the communists, with the DSA, the Democrat Socialist Wing, as the Democrat Party in its civil war implodes over the monster that the Democrats have created themselves. This is their Frankenstein that is now running loose on them.
Yeah, and quite frankly, just going back to them where they have pushed and pushed and pushed, where they said and there was a great video where this guy was basically trying to argue the socialist dilemma of the Second Amendment, because it's that catch-22 where they want to ban arms, but they need arms for the revolution, for their great, seize the means of production. But they cannot, because they still push for red flag. They still push for universal background check.
It's like the meme with the guy sweating as to which button to push. Ban guns so that so they could disarm the populace, or don't ban so that their radical, violent left can have access to firearms. Right? They're conflicted over that choice. But regardless of what politics may lay in the future, right now, the wins in court and legislatively, okay? Remember, this is a combination, the reconciliation bill, et cetera, that's all an important legislative changes that open the door to the ability to win on the front of the NFA tax attack and the big, beautiful lawsuit. We are making tremendous gains and wins, and it is absolutely a reason to be optimistic. I'm looking forward to seeing the decision in Coons Siegel case. That's the case that addresses New Jersey's sensitive places. We're waiting for that same full en banc panel of the Third Circuit. Now, this is the same court that just killed New Jersey's assault firearm and magazine law. That same court will be rendering an opinion over the constitutional validity of New Jersey's sensitive places in the very near future. We're going to see it. We're just a matter any day they can come out with that decision. And keep in mind, it's going to be very important in countering and destroying the carry killer bill that Murphy and company got enacted. And they did it how? They did it because of their hissy fit to the Bruen decision mandating carry permits get issued. So they tried to make it so that this insane matrix of sensitive places makes it so incredibly difficult to actually exercise that right. So this same court that gave us this fantastic pro-Second Amendment decision will be coming out with the sensitive places decision shortly, and I'm cautiously optimistic about that. Keep in mind the vote of the judges on the assault firearm magazine case. That was a panel of 15 judges, and the vote was 10 on our side and 5 against us. So it was 15 judges. One of the judges that opted to stay in was a judge that had been on a temporary assignment in, and that judge was a known opponent to Second Amendment rights. So, of course, he wanted to stay in. And of the votes, of the 10-5 ruling, one of the 5 judges was the anti-Second Amendment judge. But that judge is not part of the decision that will come out of Coons and Siegel, and therefore it's a 14-judge panel. And if we see the same voting as occurred on assault firearms and magazines, we should see a 10-4 ruling, keeping our fingers crossed here, in favor of knocking out Jersey's sensitive places, which would be really fantastic. And so hang in there, folks. We've suffered long time, but our suffering is slowly but surely being relieved. Hey, let me tell you about our good friends at WeShoot. WeShoot has some pretty cool offers and things happening. They're offering the Bull Armory Ultralight Pro, and Bull is proudly recognized as North Jersey Friends of NRA Gun of the Year for 2026. It's lightweight, it's exceptionally accurate, and it's built for everyday carry. The pistol earned its title through outstanding performance, craftsmanship, and innovation. You can check out that Bull Armory Ultralight Pro at WeShoot. WeShoot is also offering Hornady Critical Defense ammunition. Now, you know, critical defense and that Hornady line of Critical Duty as well is one of the most trusted names in personal protection. And that round is designed and engineered for reliable expansion and dependable feeding and confidence when it essentially matters most. And let me tell you, the Hornady Critical Defense and Critical Duty, those are polymer-tipped rounds that perform arguably even better than hollow nose, but are not hollow nose bullets under New Jersey law because the nose is actually not hollow. It's got an insert filling the hole. So because of that, it is an ideal round for carry in Jersey, since you can't carry at the moment actual hollow nose, but you can carry Critical Defense, Critical Duty, And frankly, it's got advantages over hollow nose, not just because it performs as well or better, but also because of the nose having the polymer plug, it actually feeds even more reliably than hollow nose. So it's actually far superior, at least in these terms, to your normal hollow nose ammunition. So check out Critical Defense at WeShoot. Also, WeShoot has the Ruger Mini 14 Ranch Rifle. Now, that Mini 14, that's an American classic. It's earned its reputation through decades of proven reliability, versatility, and timeless styling. And let me tell you about the Ruger. The new Rugers are incredibly accurate. You know, the old Ruger with the pencil barrels, they were called pencil barrels, they weren't known for their accuracy. Okay, they functioned well and sure looked cool when the A-team had them rolling, right? But accuracy-wise, not so much. However, the new Rugers are extremely accurate. The barrel is thickened toward the base, and it is a redesign that gives incredible tack driving accuracy to the new Ruger Mini 14s. And the Ranch rifle will be able to deliver for you. And of course, it's set so you can not only have the scope rings, the classic Ruger scope rings, but even a Picatinny rail that fits in where you could put the rings, and then you could Picatinny it up to whatever optics you like as well. So Ruger's come a long way, and the new Mini 14 is something you need to check out. I really do love the new Mini. I have one myself, and greatly appreciated having had the old ones as well. So you can get yours at WeShoot. WeShootUSA.com is their website. And I want to also remind you that if you need to get that Jersey carry permit, you really should get it. Join our ranks of 100,000 or more here of permitted carry holders. The more folks we get with carries, the closer we get to constitutional carry. So make sure you're part of that, and you can get your Seat Care certification from WeShoot. They have all the great training there. It's a fantastic facility. It's a wonderful resource, conveniently off the Parkway in Lakewood, New Jersey. So make sure you stop by and check out their website as well. You'll be glad you did. Let me also shamelessly plug my book, New Jersey Gun Law, the Bible of Jersey gun law. You need to have it. It's over 500 pages, 120 topics, all question and answer, so that you don't become a go-foo. Make sure you have that book. Go to evannappen.com. You'll see the big orange cover right there. Click it, and you'll have it in a matter of days. evannappen.com to get your New Jersey gun law book. Hey, Teddy, what do you have for us today in Press Checks?
Well, as you know, press checks are always free, and I imagine you've caught all of it about the In-N-Out shooting, what happened there. And
Well, maybe our listeners aren't aware of that. This is, I would be surprised, but they may not know, there was a major shooting that took place at and outside of and around this In-Out Burger in Idaho. Yeah, I don't know if any of you have ever eaten at In-Out Burger. It's a West Coast thing. I really do love In-Out Burger. Just a side note, by the way, guys. But anyway, I digress.
best is
I could have well seen myself ending up at In-Out Burger in Idaho if I was out there. And
they have the mustard on the burger that they do.
no, that's Whataburger, another great
Whataburger.
burger chain. Oh, listen, we're gonna have to call this the Burger Show shortly instead of
know.
the Burger Lawyer, Hamburger
What's
Lawyer.
what's the best at In-N-Out?
I like to get, they have the secret menu and all that. I get the protein wrap where they take their In-Out Burger and they wrap it in lettuce because, I've lost, over 200 pounds and I avoid the carbs. And I love the lettuce wrap, the protein, they call them the protein wrap. they wrap their In-Out burger strictly in lettuce, so you have no carbs, and they're delicious In-Out burgers. So that's my favorite, but their stuff is really delicious. However, on this particular occasion, it was not so good. We had a
Yeah.
bad guy go in there with a gun and decided he was going to shoot up the place. And lo and behold, what happened, Teddy? What happened?
So,
A
he
fellow
was
by the name of Jordan Salinas. Go ahead.
Yes, good guy with a gun, Jordan Salinas, where he was with his girlfriend, and they had planned a quiet Saturday. They horseback riding, and going out for a nice lunch in Twin Falls. And as the gunman Chad Williams has been identified, who was shooting up the In-N-Out, Jordan drew his holstered FN 57 semi-auto pistol with a suppressor to fire back and save the people inside.
Okay, so
fighting back
first of
against
all,
the gunman.
that gun standard has a 20-round magazine, and it's readily available to have a 30-round mag. So that gun with its standard capacity magazine, you would up until the recent case, and even though there's a stay at the moment, you still can't have that handgun with the standard capacity magazine, but I'm confident we will be able to. So the gun you couldn't have in Jersey unless you had a lame 10-round magazine in it, which what's the point when you have an FN 57 that can hold 20 or even 30 of the 5.7 ammo. And then his gun has a silencer or suppressor on it, which is just great. Again, that prohibited in New Jersey because New Jersey doesn't allow silencers at all. So here we have this crime being committed by this Chad fellow, and lo and behold, the hero, the good guy with a gun, breaks out his 5.7 with a suppressor and starts laying down fire on the bad guy. It was fantastic. And he was credited, wasn't he, by law enforcement with saving lives.
Directly,
right?
yes. And that was from the police chief when he gave the press conference. Now, what is a couple of big things to this was one, he started in an interview talking about he started training after the 2021 shooting in Boys Town, where when the gunman was interviewed, he said went after soft targets. From then and being then on, as also being a healthcare worker and taking care of his wheelchair-bound brother, he wanted to get trained up and taking it very seriously. He would shoot on the weekends. He actually would go out into the desert in a small town and would just practice quick draw drills. And he would do what's called the 4-step approach in the military: observe, orient, decide, act. He actually broke down the encounter when the shooting went down. Observe. He ran from his car, gun drawn, video posted on social media showing him slinking behind the In-N-Out signs to get a clear view of the gunfire. Orient. Hidden from view, he established a line of sight. He saw the guy identified as Chaz Williams standing through the window. He watched, see the man lift up his rifle and start firing into the cars. Decide, he thought, okay, this is him. Act. He leveled the pistol, both hands, and began firing, shooting forward, causing the gunman to flee. Literally followed 4 2-steps directly. But then Crowder talked about this a lot on his, but the thing people are ignoring, and just the mainstream, I know all the gun people around are talking
Crowder
about it.
does a separate. Who's Crowder?
Steven Crowder, Gladwin Crowder, he did a full breakdown on it where it's about training, where you just do enough to where you can handle yourself in a situation.
And what did he say hasn't been?
So the one thing that caught is the fact that has a suppressor attached to it, and it was identified in one of his other videos as he uses an FN 57 USG fitted Tactical Solutions Axiom suppressor, firing Vanguard 55 grain subsonic 5.7s.
Nice.
That was
Smart.
That may not. Now, they may not be his exact rig at that moment, but that was what was reported to what he was practicing with. But that being said, this is 1-to-1 of what he was using in the
And
fight.
so, when you step back, Teddy, and look at this, normally when there is some bad guy shooting up soft target area, the antis just cheer because they get to do a blood dance to try to attack and oppress gun rights, because it's the old saying of they never let a tragedy go to waste. However, here, the entire thing was turned on its ear because we had an armed civilian who saved lives and did it with a 20 to 30 round capacity handgun with a suppressor. Okay? And so this completely turned around this incident to be one of the greatest current examples of why citizens need to be armed and ready and trained. And so the antis can't even respond because in their normal blood dance that they like to do, it just always goes back to, well, look, we had a good guy with a gun make the difference. That's the key. And it's so important, so great that Jordan Salinas was there to save the folks that he did. He rendered aid even to the injured after. He's just a great person as well. It was amazing to see this, and it so turned it around that I'm going to put on my conspiracy hat, the way we sometimes see happen with the shootings that they use to go against our gun rights. I'm going to put my conspiracy hat on and say, I think this, given how the outcome was, that this was a false flag operation run by us, because it's had such tremendous. I'm just kidding about that. Of course, it's not run by us.
Don't give Candace Owens ideas.
Yeah, Candace Owens might run with it. Oh yeah, it was the pro gun side that engineered the entire thing to. No, but the thing is, the impact has been tremendous, and it's now iconic of Jordan Salinas in his position. It's like as iconic as Sophie Cunningham pointing is Jordan Salinas in his perfect firing position with his suppressed 5.7.
I've been seeing the Citizen Cowboy joke that's been circling.
Oh yeah, as compared to Citizen Vigilante, it's now Citizen Cowboy.
Citizen Cowboy, because he had.
But he's Citizen Defender. He's not a vigilante.
Yeah.
He's a defender. He's a defender at the moment, being a man. Imagine that, being a man. Actually, is that your greatest example of so-called toxic masculinity right there, called saving lives? I guess so.
The other thing is, and I want to take this a step further, I see where we win in the argument of common use. I want this to be a common thing where people are using suppressors in self-defense shootings. I want people to start carrying and doing that. I think
there's a lot of advantages to having them in self-defense
and
shootings.
Because if you go back to the old, where it was like we're using 45 for the stopping power, or 9, this guy had a 5.7 with the suppressor. You were putting out more rounds, and you're protecting your hearing on that. So it's definitely that new framework.
It's a very interesting choice, and I'm sure that on the technical side, people can always debate what's the best, but the bottom line is...
There's going to be someone who's going to say, like...
But look, what's really the best is that a good guy with a gun helped save the day, and that's what really matters. And, Teddy, I need to tell you about this week's GoFu, because I've been seeing a lot of it. And GoFu's, as you know, are gun owner F-ups. It's where gun owners make expensive mistakes, costly mistakes you get to learn for free. And I got to tell you, this week's GoFu is something I see... when it comes to restoring rights, when it comes to getting an expungement, I have to say, do not do it yourself. Seek professionals that know how to do it. I've been getting more poorly, improperly done pro se, where the individual themselves tried to expunge their record. There's too much to that law, too many complications, too many nuances. too many things you have to know to do it right. And when you do it wrong, it's 10 times more difficult to fix it, and it can end up costing you. Because if you expunge poorly and then you apply to get your firearm because you think your rights are restored and they're not, now you end up with a denial. Now you end up with falsification of the application because you wrote no when you should have wrote yes, but you wrote no because you thought you were expunged, but you didn't do it properly. We see this all the time. There is an entire procedure. There are things you need to know. You need to go to a professional, whether, and I just don't mean me, like some attorney. We do them. My firm, we do plenty of expungements. We help people with that. It's great. You need to make sure whoever is doing your expungement really understands it, because, and especially does it with gun ownership in mind, because when it's done poorly, it can absolutely come back and bite you in the behind. Hey, this is Evan Nappen and Teddy Nappen reminding you that gun laws don't protect honest citizens from criminals. They protect criminals from honest citizens.
Gun Lawyer is a Counterthink media production. The music used in this broadcast was managed by Cosmo Music, New York, New York. Reach us by emailing evan@gun.lawyer. The information and opinions in this broadcast do not constitute legal advice. Consult a licensed attorney in your state.